Hello, my dear students. How are you? I hope you are doing well. This is Miss Aziza Abdullah, and I'm going to teach you the English subject, inshallah. Okay, so ready? Okay, so let's start. Okay, today, inshallah, we will talk about should and shouldn't. Before we start, let's know what the meaning of should and shouldn't. Should means that you have to do this thing, okay? But shouldn't mean that you don't have to do this thing, okay? So let's have an example. Like, for example, here, you should study hard for your exam, okay? So you have to do this thing, okay? Another example, you shouldn't sleep late, okay? So this means that you don't have to do this thing, okay? Clear? Let's move on to another part, which is the usage of should and shouldn't. Okay. When we use should and when we use shouldn't. For sure, we use should and shouldn't in order to give an advice or a recommendation. Okay. But here I have a question. What is the difference between advice or recommendation? Advice means to tell someone this is the best thing to do it, okay? And we can take advice from our mother, our father, our grandfather, and so on, okay? In general, people who are older than us. But recommendation means to tell your opinion about something. Like, for example, I visited a place and I'm gonna recommend or won't recommend this place for you. Okay. So again, we use should and shouldn't for what? For advice or recommendation. So here, let's have an example. Number one. Here we have, you should see the new Star Wars movie. It's great. So this means that I watched the movie. Now I'm telling you my opinion. So this is a kind of recommendation. So here I used should for recommendation. The next example here we have, he should go to the dentist if his tooth still hurts. So here he's in a bad situation and he needs a help. So here I'm telling him the best thing to do it. So this is a kind of advice. I use should for what? For advice. Okay. Number three, you shouldn't buy this book. So this is a kind of what? Advice or recommendation? For sure, recommendation. Why? Because here I'm telling my opinion. Because for sure I read this book and now I'm telling my opinion. So this part is clear. So let's move on to another part. Okay, so let's move on to the form of should and shouldn't. What is the form of should and shouldn't? Okay, form means how can I use should and shouldn't in a sentence? So let's start with the affirmative form of should. Okay, the affirmative form of should is to have the subject plus should. Like subject like what? Subject like I, you, he, she, it, we, they, or any name. Like Aziza, Ahmed, Asma, Alia, and so on. After the subject, you have to put what? You have to put should. So it's gonna be I should, you should, he should, she should, it should, we should, and they should, Aziza should, Ahmed should, and so on. In order to make the negative form, just put with. For sure, you have just put not after should, okay? So it's gonna be what? It's gonna be I shouldn't, you shouldn't, he shouldn't, she shouldn't, it shouldn't. So like, for example, if I say Aziza should, the negative form, it's gonna be Aziza shouldn't, okay? So let's move on to another part. Here, take care. This is a very important point. Okay? With he and she and it, should doesn't take s. Okay? So it's wrong to say he shoulds, she shoulds, it shoulds. No. This is for sure in present simple, but here with should, no, it's just should, okay, without s. Like, for example, here, he should study. For sure, this example is wrong. Why? Because here I have s with should. So it should be what? He should study. Should without s. Clear? And also the same point for shouldn't. Shouldn't doesn't take s. Let's have an example. He shouldn't work. For sure, this example is wrong. Why? Because here after shouldn't I have s and this is wrong. So it should be what? He shouldn't work without s. So again, should and shouldn't don't take s after them. This part is clear? Yes. Okay. So let's move on to another part. Okay. For sure, here we have should and shouldn't plus the infinitive. Infinitive means what? The verb without any addition, without ing, okay, without ed or without es. Okay, again, infinitive means the verb without any addition. Addition like what? Like ing or es or ed. Okay, so I have only the verb and also without any preposition. Okay, so I have, like, for example, here, you should to go. This is wrong. Why? Because here after should I have to, and this is preposition. Okay, but the correct one is to say you should go without to. Should plus infinitive. Now it's your turn. He shouldn't to play. Do you think this is right or wrong? For sure, this is wrong. Why? Because after shouldn't here, we have a preposition which is to. But the correct one is to say he shouldn't play without to. Shouldn't plus the infinitive. So here, again, should and shouldn't plus infinitive without any additions or preposition. Okay? So this part is clear. So let's move on to another now to the exercise. But before moving to the exercise, let's make a quick revision. Okay? We said that we use should and shouldn't. Why? In order to give advice or recommendation. How can we use them? We use should and shouldn't. Okay. In affirmative form, subject plus should, like I should. In negative form, subject plus shouldn't, like, for example, he shouldn't. Okay. Then we said that should and shouldn't don't take s with he and she and it. Okay. Then we said that should and shouldn't should followed by what? By infinitive. Okay. There is no ing or ed or es or any preposition. Okay. So now let's have an exercise here. Use should and shouldn't. I have a headache. So here it's your turn to give him an advice. So you are gonna say what? You should sleep. Okay. The next one. I wanted to go to the cinema, but it's raining. So here you will tell him what? For sure, you shouldn't go out. I'm tired. So here, in order to give him an advice, you will tell him what? You should take a rest. So now we have finished. If you have any question, just send me anytime. Have a nice day and goodbye.